お待たせいたしました。これよりメドピアトラックでは、クリエイターオブナイトロ&UnJS、Nuxtコアチーム、Pooya Parsa様によるセッション、UnJS The Missing Tools for the Modern Web をお届けいたします。本セッションでは、AI 英語教材 AB シードを開発、個人の可能性を最大化する株式会社グロービー様の提供により、英語から日本語へ同時通訳をご利用いただけます。ご希望の方はお席に置いてある受信機をお使いください。なお、受信機はセッションが終了したら、本トラックの外には持ち出さず、電源をお切りいただき、そのままお席に置いてくださるようお願いいたします。また、Vue Fes Japan 2024では、4つのトラックを同時進行しています。このメドピアトラックについては、画面の上の方にあります、ハッシュタグ、Vue Fes メドピアでどんどん感想を共有してください。Mr. Parsa, are you ready?
Yes.
それでは皆様、どうぞ温かい拍手でお迎えください。
Hi, I'm so glad to be here. It was always my dream to be in this Vue Fes Japan, and yeah, it's like a dream to come true. My name is Pooya Parsa, or my username is pi0, number pi, because I like number pi. I am creator of Nitro, Nuxt, Nitro, UnJS, and from early days I joined a Nuxt project. Before that, I really wanted to get into the open source, and the way I started was I created a library for Vue, Bootstrap Vue. Maybe some of you already used it. It was in university. I was learning how to use Vue, how to use open source and be collaborative. And yeah, actually, Vue and even you was the reasons that I think all of us are here and collaborate. I love cats a lot. I love sushi, and from childhood I was always programming. Also for my hobby, I do electronics, also networking for fun in my home. So yeah, that's my fun. And yes, I'm glad my girlfriend is also here. If you want to follow me, I'm pi0 in GitHub, and in Twitter also pi0. Okay. Let's start the story. Today we are going to talk more about the story of how we created the collection of UnJS and project of Nitro. But everything started from Vue and Nuxt project. What is Nuxt? Nuxt is a meta framework that adds features on top of Vue for making web applications easily. So it's essentially Vue plus more love. It's Nuxt. We want to make everything better and more beautiful. The first thing that Nuxt and meta frameworks give is that it's zero config. It configures everything for us. So instead of wasting our time for making the configuration, we can make the actual application and business logic. Nuxt also has a file system structure, and in new versions of Nuxt, Nuxt 3, we can split by business logic with multiple layers, and we can combine them. So instead of using configuration, we can use conventions of directory structure to create our applications. Nuxt has optional server-side rendering to improve the performance out of the box. That's one of the main benefits of using Nuxt. You can also not use a server-side rendering, but use Nuxt for quickly creating the application. In Nuxt 3, there is also a hybrid mode. So instead of choosing either we want server-side rendering or client-side rendering, we can combine them. So we can have some static pages, some client-side rendered pages, and some server-side rendered pages. And thanks to all amazing work by community and Anthony, we have a really powerful dev tools now and a quick dev server powered by Vite, which can help to develop applications. Also, Nuxt is not fixed, like it's not limited. We wanted to add functionalities to the core of Nuxt using modules, so people can be innovative. They can add integrations. They can add new ideas on top of Nuxt. instead of changing inside the Nuxt. So this way we could increase our ecosystem. And this is one of the most important features of Nuxt, that Nuxt is good. Nuxt has a lot of features, but many of the features come as modules on top of Nuxt. So I'm pretty sure many of you know more about Nuxt, so I'm not going to details, but I'm going to tell a little bit of a story. The time that initial version 1 of Nuxt and 0 of Nuxt was created, it was meant to be either a static site generator to deploy static sites, or a full server. You had to buy a VPS and use SSH to deploy the whole Node.js application, all the Node modules. But something's changed over the time. One of the main problems with that model, and it's also true today, is that if you want to deploy your server application to production, it has a lot of dependencies you have to install. Like the whole Nuxt, it has Vue, Webpack, Babel, all the transformers. Also on server itself, we have a lot of dependencies like Express. And it was really big. So if you wanted to quickly iterate, you wanted to deploy, and publish application fast, it wasn't good enough. So we had to find a solution for that. We had to make Nuxt in production smaller, so we could have everything we want in development. We can build application and deploy something small to production. One of the first ideas was Nuxt Start. You probably, if you was using Nuxt version 2, you can remember Nuxt Start. It was an automated redistribution of Nuxt that was having less dependencies. So it could just contain everything that we need only for production. And it was a great start because we could deploy Nuxt in more places. We could add it to a Docker image and make it smaller to deploy. But there was something really interesting, and it was also one of the reasons that we created Nuxt. It was inspired by Next.js, and the Vercel platform was one of the pioneers in serverless with good developer experience. They was having a lot of better optimizations, and if we wanted to make Nuxt perfect for deploying to Vercel, like Next.js, we wanted to make it even smaller and also more automated. So instead of configuring like a Docker image, for example, to deploy, we wanted it to be automatically deployable on Vercel. And that was one of the reasons that we started another project called Nuxt Vercel Builder. If you, in Nuxt 2, Nuxt version 1, latest ones, you used to deploy a Nuxt application to Vercel platform, or Zate now it was that time. We had an automated builder. This builder could not only replace Nuxt with Nuxt Start, but it could also extract the dependencies, only the things that are required for production, add them to the bundle, and deploy it to Vercel. So one of the main things in the story of Nuxt is Vercel. I have to give a lot of credits to them because they was one of the reasons that Nuxt in production could be better. We also collaborated with them. We created a standard for build-output API. Now more frameworks like, I think, also Swellkit also is leveraging from it. So as a result of our collaboration with Vercel and Nuxt, we improved Nuxt for Vercel and in general, and also we opened a standard for other frameworks that they could support this build-output API for Vercel. So it was not Next anymore and Next and Nuxt anymore. We opened it for everyone. And this is also one of the interesting things that we will see later. Like, this is the culture we have. Like, we want to make things, we want to make standards, but not to only make Nuxt and Vue better. Just like Vue, we want to help everyone in the ecosystem to be better. The second era was Edge and service workers. You know, traditionally there is two layers. There is an Edge layer that requests from users comes to that CDN, and if it's a static asset, it can be served there. And if it's not, it goes to a traditional server. It could be a Node.js server or a serverless handler, but it is two layers. Cloudflare had a really amazing idea with Edge workers. They moved the server from actual VPS to the Edge. So the layer that could handle the request, static requests, it could also serve the actual server logic and render the pages. And it could make pages much, much faster. But there were some problems with it. because Edge is not like Node.js. Vue, server-side rendering, Nuxt, Express, and many other dependencies we have in NPM, like 5 years ago when it was introduced, they was made for Node.js. And I remember it was a meeting, I think Alex was there, Anthony was there, like we had a meeting with Nuxt team, and someone shared the link. I thought, okay, interesting. And we started to think how to support Cloudflare workers without sacrificing, because we wanted to keep using dependencies we had, like Express. We wanted to keep using server-side rendering of Vue, while it was made for Node.js, but not Edge. So we created a polyfill called onenv that could allow us to make it possible. It's 5 years ago or so. After 5 years, we finally collaborated with Cloudflare team themselves. We moved onenv to the SDK of Wrangler, which is for deploying to the Cloudflare workers. So again, the thing that we made for Nuxt, now it is used by everyone in the ecosystem. So newer frameworks, if they want to deploy and convert their server, if it's made for Node, to deploy on Cloudflare workers, they can leverage from onenv. And using onenv, we can deploy more NPM packages. The other thing was the differences in the server API. In a Node.js server, we have different format of request and response than the one that is in the browsers and in the Cloudflare workers. And we needed to make them compatible. So as a start, like when I was making Nuxt 3, I started to think maybe it's time that we create a new framework that replaces Connect, which is like Express, that is better designed for these environments. It's working perfect on Node, also working perfect on Edge workers. So H3, which is short for HTTP, is a HTTP framework that can replace things like Hono or Express or Connect. And it's especially designed to first be compatible with different environments, not only Node, not only Cloudflare workers, but both of them. And also, it is inspired by Vue Composition API, because back in the time, Vue 3 was almost released. And one of the ideas behind Composition APIs is that you can combine composable utilities instead of having a big server with a lot of middleware. So the problem with a traditional middleware system in Express is that you have to run all of them one by one. If you want to read body, all the requests have to read the body. If you want an authentication, everything has to read it. But in the model of Composition API and composables of Vue, it's different. You just import the utilities that you want, and you can combine them like that you want. So you are more flexible in structure. And H3 was also designed and modeled after this. So for a Vue and Nuxt user, it was more familiar how to create a backend for these applications. And again, all of them are credits of Cloudflare with this innovative idea. Before going further, today we have a mystery release. I'm going to open source it now. It is a new feature for Nitro. It's a new extension to Nitro. And it was something that I was working for 2 months. I didn't have time to finish it. So last night, 4 a.m., sorry, I'm a little sleepy because I was working late. I had to finish it because I really wanted to open source it today. And yeah, here we go. Why CrossWS? I will explain a lot more about it. You can join, and if you want to just type something. I hope the link works because I was just debugging it before joining. And it's open source, so you just make a pull request, I will merge it if there was a bug. Okay, let me quickly say about it. So similar to HTTP, like HTTP server that you define a route handler, also we have WebSockets. WebSockets are for more live collaborations like chat rooms or live editors. In Nuxt and Nitro, we have abstractions for everything, like H3 that works on Node and web. We have CrossWS. There is a lot of differences. Let me show you this. You know, we have WebSockets, but there is no standard. It's really hard to support something that is working everywhere. And usually the frameworks just choose one. Like say, okay, we support Cloudflare workers. We make it perfect, but just one of them. And if you want to change your application from one platform to another, it's going to be completely different. So we spent, I think, more than 3 months to create something called CrossWS, and another few months to iterate and find all the issues with it to make it complete. It is an abstraction framework. It's not a full framework, but allows you to just create a WebSocket handler just as easy as this. It is not only for Nuxt. It is not only for Nitro. You can use it anywhere, even for Hono. They have the same thing, but you can use it any framework you want. Also Next.js, for example. And it's really simple. You can create a chat room, for example, like this peer-to-peer chatting. And it provides you everything that you need. So this was the first layer. This is a WebSocket layer that we have in Nitro. You can read more about it in Nitro documentation. There is a WebSocket page, if you are interested. But the thing that I shared with you, it's this TipTap editor. Well, let's see. Oh, thank you. Who typed this? You are too. I hope you see it. Let me refresh to see. Oh, 44 users, I think. 47 users online. It's great. And something interesting, this has no server. It's directly running the Cloudflare workers in the closest region in Japan, because everyone is close to Japan now. So that's not why it is so fast, because it's close to us. If most of the crowd are in a different part of the world, maybe another time of the day, it just moves there automatically. So makes it beautiful. Stop. I see you. OK, I'm going to open source it. And this one, it is based on a framework called Vue.js. It's hard. Please. No way. It's still private. It's public. Oh, maybe it's cache. Yeah, someone has to report it to GitHub. But congrats. Oh, thank you. But there are two special things about it, and that was the reason I wanted to first show you this, because I want to show you that how much we think about abstractions. First of all, it's not, you can't see Nuxt or Vue or Nitro or any name here. Vue CrossWS is for everyone. So this layer and this integration works with any runtime, Node.js, Bon, or Dino, if you like, or Cloudflare workers. So it's not opinionated. You have choice to whatever you want to use, and it's simple instructions. And it works out of the box with Nuxt. All the server you saw, like I can show you this code. This is the front-end side. And it's like a simple component to just basically connect to the provider. And how much code do you think I wrote for server? That's it. This is all the code we have. There is a defined WebSocket handler that helps for type definitions. We create a handler and add the hooks. Because the format of CrossWS is universal, it doesn't matter what runtime or framework we use. It just works. And this is the power of composition with these APIs also in the server. It makes everything easier for everyone. So we make it generic. We can test it in multiple layers. Before creating it for Nitro, I tested it using the runtime itself. And when I was confident it was good enough, 2 weeks ago, I just created a demo with it for Nuxt. And just imagine how much more features you can add to it. You can add just live chat, for example. Oh, can you type code inside it? For your info, it's using an editor called TipTap, but it has tons of features, but I didn't know you can type code. Cool. Is it Kazuban who typed it? No, okay. Oh, thank you. Please feel free to see the source code, and if there was any issue, please help. I'm going to next. Okay, Nitro. I talked a lot about the history of how we improved Nuxt for deployment presets, serverless era, and workers era to make it more generic for deployment platforms. But let's talk about Nitro. Nitro was a project that was born when we was making Nuxt 3. We extracted Nitro basically mainly because I had like 12 or I don't know 15 providers. We wanted to test all of them, and it was right inside the Nuxt. And the other thing was that Nitro was a really good server. It was a lot of things that we could share with others, the other users that are not Nuxt users. We could test it better. We could have it more clear to think about the features of it. So instead of keeping it for ourselves, just inside Nuxt, hiding it, we extracted it as an external project. The project was first codenamed Sigma because it was combining multiple things, and we then renamed it to Nitro. Nitro, of course, has the first user and first class user of Nuxt 3. So if you are using Nuxt, you are already using Nitro. It's the second half of Nuxt. That is the backend of it. In Nuxt version 4, we will have 2 directories, one app directory and one server directory. So you exactly know it is server, it is Nitro, it is app, it is Nuxt. So if you use Nuxt, it's similar to use Nitro. And the features that we add to Nitro are directly available to every Nuxt user. It was interesting because I randomly saw that there is another dependency. We had a spike in downloads. And I found out a great Angular-based framework, Analog.js, is using Nitro for deployment providers. It's interesting because I wasn't even thinking about it. I extracted Nitro for just easier life. And yep, just one more other decided to use Nitro for their deployment providers. It was really feeling good when I first time I saw it. And over the time, we saw more frameworks. Solid is another great framework, and they have a meta framework called Solid Start. And over a year, they was trying to almost redo the same thing we was doing for deploying Solid in different runtimes. And it's not easy, believe me. You just saw one part of it. It was WebSockets, but imagine like storage for caching, for different server handlers. It's really hard to just make sure that the code that we write works everywhere similarly and perfectly. So they decided to not continue that project and join the Nitro party. So now they are also depending on Nitro. And this really good for every user. So every feature that we introduce is not only for Vue and Nuxt users, but for Analog and Solid users. And Solid Start is based on a layer called Vinci. And Vinci is also an abstracted layer for making React meta frameworks. So a few weeks ago, also another meta framework called TanStack Start joined the party because it was easy. They was using Nitro, they was using Vinci. So they just took the same thing and built a meta framework on top of it. It's benefit for everyone. If we have more contributors from different mindsets, it's improving Nitro, and improving Nitro means improving Nuxt. And also they can benefit from it. So it's all about collaboration. And again, I have to give a lot of credit to the Vue team, Ivan Yu, and anyone in the Vite team, because the idea of Nitro, that we extracted it, we did not keep it only for Nuxt. It's inspired by Vite. Vite has the same philosophy for making a toolchain for client applications. Nitro, in general, is a flexible server. So we saw you can have multiple features in Nitro. You can have WebSockets, you can have API routes, and you can deploy it to any runtime that you want. One important thing about Nitro is that it's zero config. So if we want to change our deployment preset, we do not need to change the code. Exactly same code. You saw like that 3 lines of code work in Node, they work in Dino or Cloudflare Workers. It has built-in API routes and WebSocket handlers if you want to create a small backend for your application, so you don't need to create another backend project. One of the most important things in an enterprise application is that you need to cache your APIs because you want it to be fast. And sometimes you need to add some headers to a group of the routes. So using Nitro, you can just add a configuration to just say, these routes need to be cached or not to be cached. Also, it's really usual, like every time you want to create a backend, you need a storage, right? You need to store your data. Nitro provides two abstractions, key value storage and SQL storage. So you don't have to worry about changing it over the time. If you know how to use a simple interface, you write your code locally. Everything is already set up. You don't need any database. You don't need any key value server like Redis. You make it locally, and you just change the configuration, and you deploy it to production. So that's really flexible. It makes your life easy. You can quickly get started by learning and making the core concept. And also, when you want to deploy to production, it also got your back. You can just deploy the same code. And soon, we are thinking about adding direct Vite integration to the core of Nitro. Right now, all of these meta frameworks like Nuxt and Solid and Vinci, they have two layers because over the time, when we wanted to add Vite to Nuxt core, we didn't have multi-environment API, the thing that Ivan mentioned. And using this multi-environment API that is coming with Vite, we can actually make Nitro itself a full-stack framework. So if you want to have a small front end for your backend application, you can directly use Nitro. Also, it makes it more standard for meta frameworks to build on top of Nitro, for example, adding Vite integration. And it's going to also make Nitro faster because Vite is faster. OK. So far, we saw two major frameworks, Nuxt and Nitro. But it's not it. We have a lot more. We want Nuxt to be just used out the love. We want Nuxt and experience to be perfect for everything, from starting a development server to deploying to production. And making these details, making everything perfect, requires a lot of different solutions that are not easy in the NPM. This, I don't know if it might look familiar to you if you was using Nuxt or WordPress a few years ago. This was one of the first things. Webpack wasn't fast. So the first thing the problem that we had is that you have to wait like 1 minute for a build. We wanted it to be more beautiful. So at least you know what's going on. You have a profiler. And also the logs, we wanted them to be more readable so you can better understand them. So this was the first two projects that I started early times in Nuxt as separate packages to make it easier to make things like this. And interestingly, just right after we made them, Next.js even, WordPress, and I think Rizzo and a few more frameworks immediately used them for themselves. And I'm so proud today it has millions of downloads. We will see the stats in the next slides. And it's so heartwarming because we help ecosystem by making Nuxt better. And this is the philosophy of UnJS. UnJS is a collection that started with small ideas to make Nuxt better, and it grew and grew. There was also some missing standards like WebSockets today, but a few years ago, we didn't have a standard URL parser. It's really complicated about all the edge cases of parsing a URL. And back in the time, we also had to support Internet Explorer, rest in peace. So yeah, we needed to create something for it. And it was UFO. After a while, we also added some more utilities from it, from Vue Router. So you could have the same parsing of Vue Router and more like normalization of Vue Router in server applications. Also, we wanted to be early adapters of the standards and features. TypeScript and ECMAScript modules was something we really wanted to adopt, but I think 4 years ago, it was impossible. Even today, Node.js doesn't have built-in TypeScript support, and ESM is not stable. So we needed to make a solution that we are sure that users can use them without risking. We also added more libraries like configuration normalizer and more. Today, we have more than 50 libraries. It's a lot of them, and a lot of users are using them. Every time I count again, it makes me surprising. It's, I think, 100 times more than Vue or something like this. It's really scary because like the top one is GT for ESM support. It has $7 million or $70 million. So this is something I'm really proud. Not because like we are good, because we are helping everyone. So everything that we make is not only for making Nuxt better. We are making the whole JavaScript ecosystem better. And this is the philosophy that we was driving all the time. Nuxt is not a competitor to ecosystem, but trying to improve everything. I really wish I put more names. There are great people in the team. Haruki, I think he's not here. I see Nozomo today. There are great people. Kevin, I saw him today. He's so kind. I'm so proud of the team. It started as like single person, like I had some personal projects in UnJS, but without these amazing people, we couldn't make UnJS and Nuxt and Vue and any ecosystem much better. So I really thank them. Recently, we are creating an ecosystem for Nitro because we want to make more communities for Nitro, especially if you are like from different languages. We probably start to do translations soon. So if you're interested to join a Nuxt team or Nitro team or just see what's happening there, you are more than welcome. We just started discussions, so it's just beginning, and you're more than welcome. Thank you so much for your attention.